Thank you for tuning in to the Stories That Bind Us. We host open and honest conversations about personal experiences which can include sensitive topics such as identity, emotional struggles, mental health, and life challenges. Some of these discussions may be sensitive or difficult for certain viewers. This content is intended to encourage reflection, growth, and meaningful dialogue. So instead of cutting or censoring our episodes, we present them in their entirety. Thank you for being here and engaging with these important conversations. Viewer discretion is advised.
All right, Jason, this is the Stories That Bind Us. We are hanging out today talking about just life and some of the conversations that we haven't been able to have because of time constraints. We have families and jobs and lots of commitments, a lot of things vying for our attention. So it's important for me just to have an opportunity to sit down and talk and have a real conversation about life. Some of the things I've missed about growing older in this culture is we don't have the time to do it. An honest conversation, share life as much as we'd like to, at least myself.
Yeah.
And so trying to do it in this format, just share words of wisdom, inspiration, encouragement. And it's really just showing that our stories intersect because we all go through challenges in life. And we can look for encouragement when we're going through them, to know that there are brighter days ahead, and learn from each other and help each other as we go through those moments. You good?
Yeah, good.
So I know a little bit about your story. We've known each other for a while, worked together for a number of years, but I think the reason I want to talk to you today was I know there's a lot of inspiration that people have gotten and I've gotten from you over the years because you've gone through some really hard things. You're a positive, upbeat guy, and you've continued to strive to improve yourself and make those around you better while making yourself better. So I appreciate you pouring into me over the years and the folks in our company that have gained from your wisdom and insight.
Thank you.
But I'd love to hear more about your story and kind of the journey, and share with those that might watch this what you've gone through and how you've learned and what you've learned that you'd like to pass on. So we can jump in where you're comfortable jumping in.
Oh gosh. It all started as a little child
Great.
in Chandler, Arizona.
Hang on, let's lay on the couch. You can sit over there and lay down.
Yeah, I mean, I had a pretty good upbringing. I would say normal, right? I've heard some people's stories and some of their upbringings, and my parents did the best they could. Had lots of love in the house and faith. I was raised Catholic, so pretty good childhood. No complaints there. I think as I got older, I started to make some silly decisions, boneheaded decisions, and ended up getting my girlfriend pregnant. I was young, and we ended up getting married and having a life, having 2 kids, right? Get a house, 2 kids, married, and you're thinking, this is it. We're going to grow old together and all the cliche things, right? When we think we have things all figured out, life and really, I think God sometimes has a way of showing us that we don't really have everything quite figured out. And it's never really kind of what we think of what we desire or the direction we want to go. We're really not that much in control of that stuff. So we were married about 10 and a half years, and about 3 weeks shy of our 11-year anniversary, we were driving home after visiting some friends, and I was testing for the fire department. I wanted to be a firefighter. And we saw this accident happen on the freeway, the 101 freeway. And it was going the opposite direction we were, but it looked really bad. Cars colliding into each other, crashing into the cable barrier. That section had the cables. It didn't have like a concrete wall. So debris came across our way and all that stuff. So we had stopped at accidents before to try to help. I wasn't a firefighter at the time. I only had my EMT, but just always felt like we needed to try to stop and help if we could, right? And so this looked pretty bad. We saw it happen. So I tell my wife at the time, I'm like, call 911. It's midnight, so there's not a lot of traffic on the freeway, and I walk across and checking on everybody. Everybody seems to be okay. Two guys run, and I'm checking with everyone in the car. My wife at the time came across. I'm saying wife at the time because my wife is with me. I'm remarried, so to my lovely wife is here. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that. So, so my wife at the time comes across with me, and I'm like, everyone seems to be okay. Go back to the car, and I'll talk to the police when they get here. So you can hear the sirens coming, and she goes back across, and I watch her move the car more parallel to where I'm standing in the gravel median of the highway. And I turn, and just then the police officer shows up on their side, and he's checking on everybody, and I see a police officer pulling kind of on the other side, and as he's talking to them and he's coming to address to me, I hear something and I see their reactions. I'm facing them, and what had happened is my wife, when she had parked the car, tried to come back across to be with me, and a cluster of cars had come along, and the front cars saw her and were slowing down, and there was an 18-year-old driver in the back of the pack of cars, was like, why is everybody slowing down, and changed lanes as my wife was it was in that final lane to get to the median, and the 18-year-old hit her and instantly killed her. So and it's crazy, the way your mind and your body will try to protect you. To this day, I never saw anything. I don't remember anything gory. Even what I saw in the aftermath, I had a thought of, this is not real. Like, someone's playing a joke. Like, why would somebody throw a mannequin in the roadway? Like, that's not funny. These are all like legit thoughts that I was having in that moment. As time is slowly going, and I'm like trying to put two and two together, and I see an officer weaving his car on the highway, and he gets out and he starts shining his flashlight back and forth. Now I know they do that to stop traffic because there's been a fatality, but I didn't know then. And I'm trying to put two and two together, and I yelled to him. I asked him, can you shine your light in my car across the highway? My wife is supposed to be there. And as I was backing up to try to see into the vehicle, he lit it up, and I saw it was empty. And I knew that what I was looking at was her. So just earth shattering. Like, I just dropped. I wanted to throw up, but couldn't throw up. Just kept saying over and over again, like, oh my God, like, I can't believe this happened. So it was pretty just life altering moment. Felt completely alone. I immediately started to try to call people I knew. Like, I called one of her best friends is a firefighter, so I tried to call her at her station. She wasn't working. And the firefighter that answered, I was just like, my wife was just hit by a car and killed. And he's like, what? He's like, are you okay? And I'm like dropping bombs on these people that I'm calling. I tried to call my in-laws. They don't answer. I got a hold of her sister, my wife's sister at the time. And I can only imagine. She's like, what's wrong? And I'm like, Nicole was just hit by a car and killed. And she's like, shut up. Like, she didn't believe me. She kept saying, shut up. And she kept saying, Jason, I want to talk to her. And I was like, I'm sorry. You can't talk to her. She's gone. And she's like, she started crying. I was like, I got to go. I'm so sorry. Right. And so now I think back just how horrible that was. But I needed to connect with somebody. I was so alone in that moment. So, yeah. I ended up getting a hold of my mom. They lived up in Prescott. She was like, oh my gosh, I'll be there as soon as I can. To this day, she's like, I don't know how I made it down there as fast as she did. She was down. It takes easily an hour and a half drive. And she said she must have been down in like an hour or less. And so, yeah. So it was pretty crazy. You think you're going one direction in life, like I said, and life just has a complete different idea for you, plan for you. So.
How old were the kids at this time?
My two daughters at the time were 7 and 10, and they were staying at a friend's house. So we had to pick him up the next day. And so essentially I was up all night, and the chaplain drove me up to a Circle K where they had my aunt stationed. She met me. So she was the first to meet me, my Aunt Donna, and just hugged her and just kind of collapsed. And then I was in and out of sleep on the drive home, knowing I'm going home. Someone had to go get the kids, get my parents. And I remember getting out of the car. It was like just early in the morning. The sun was coming up and there's people outside, and I was just in this fog. And I couldn't look at my in-laws because I felt, my job is to protect, right? I'm the man. And I couldn't. So it was hard to look at them. And I remember once they got the kids, the chaplain said, I just find that it's best that you just tell the kids. You just got to tell them. So kids came in, and I'm surrounded by my mom and dad and her mom and dad. And they have no idea why are all these people here. And so I said, girls, I got to tell you something. I said, Mom, there was an accident last night. Mom got hurt, and my daughter, Haley, who everybody knows Haley is just so matter of fact. She goes, what's the matter? Did she die? And I just saw my moment, and I was like, yeah. And they both instantly started crying. And my youngest daughter, it actually looked like I physically hurt her. The look on her face and the gasp for breath. So what's funny is I've done therapy since then, and I was talking to my wife, and I'm like, I don't really cry anymore, but the stuff with the kids is, I think, the hardest part. So I just had to tell them that, and that's probably one of the hardest things I'll ever have to do.
Yeah, and it's not a look that you want to, you can't forget it. Mm-mm. It's not anything you want to sit back and continue to remember.
No.
And I imagine the guilt from that night, you replay that 100 times in your head, probably over and over and over, about what if I don't stop? What if I do something different? I park different. You probably replay that thing so many times.
I did do that for a lot of years. And I think I just kind of buried a lot of it too, right? Like I had 2 kids. I have to get up every day for and get them to school. And now I'm the one that has to cook dinner, and I'm the one that has to do laundry, and I'm the one that has to do literally everything that, not only dad stuff, but mom stuff as well. And that's a lot. It's a lot to just all of a sudden you're in. And so you kind of don't really have time to process a lot of stuff. I remember saying, I want to make sure that I feel all of this. I said, I don't want anything. I don't want any medications. I don't want anything to help me cope with this. I said, I'm supposed to feel all of this. And so for the most part, I did. I did have some nights where I drank, but they were pretty far and few between. But I just knew I had to be there for the kids, and just had to try to work through this. And so, but yeah, there was, I think, a lot of guilt and a lot of hurt and anger. There's they talk about all the different, phases of grief, and, guilt and sadness and bargaining and anger and all that stuff. And it's true. They're all there, and you go through them in such a different order over and over and over in different ways. And I'd find myself laughing and all of a sudden being like, why am I laughing? I should not be laughing right now. Mm-hmm.
Then you feel guilty because you're happy, and you shouldn't be happy.
Yep.
You shouldn't be finding joy in such a terrible circumstance.
Yeah. So it took a long time to really process all that. And I tried to do some counseling and some grief counseling for a little while. And then I helped kind of lead some grief counseling to help process it. I decided I wanted to write a book, and I wrote a book to help process it. I just knew that I wanted to turn this into something good. I wanted to take something absolutely horrible and turn it into some sort of good, to help other people. Like I've always had a heart for helping people, and I figured when you go through something like this, you feel alone. Nobody understands it unless they've gone through it. Nobody knows. And at the end of the day, everyone comes over and says hi and brings you meals and cards and how you doing. And then after a while, everybody goes home and you're left with your thoughts and you're left with just you. And then after a while, life moves on. Everybody has their own lives that they get back to. And so you don't hear from people as much anymore. And the world does just get right back. It doesn't miss a beat. And so I just knew I wanted to help people that would feel crazy or alone. And so that's why I wrote the book. So it's titled Diary of a Widowed Dad. I had it published for a short while and you could get it, but then the publishing company went out of business some years ago. So you can't really get it anywhere now, but that was part of me just trying to process and turn it into something good. So
yeah, well, it's important to go through the healing process, that you were able to experience it and then get it out on paper and be able to get your thoughts out. Mm-hmm. And for anybody else that might have read that, or anybody that you've been able to communicate with over the years and share some of those things that are going through their own challenges or trauma, it's nice to know you're not alone. Yeah. It's important. And you've connected with our students for many, many years in the work that we do. And I think that lends well to having that understanding heart that it's not all roses, and people go through really, really hard times. And like you said, if you haven't been there, how do you know what it feels like? And how do you display that and communicate that empathy in a way that can be received? So I'm grateful that you've used that aspect of the horrible experience for the good of helping others that we work with. Yeah. So who were those folks in your life that were instrumental? Because not everybody left and kind of moved on. There were still people. Your daughters were still in your life every day, as you said, and then you have in-laws and different folks that walked through it with you. But even though they had to go back to their own lives, how has that impacted you, and how have those relationships kind of carried forward since that time?
Well, early on, my mom and my grandmother actually moved in with me for a stretch, and they really helped with the day-to-day, because there were moments where I couldn't see past like the next few minutes. Mm-hmm. And I never was suicidal. I never thought about taking my life, but I just was like, I just don't want to wake up tomorrow. Like I just wanted to go to sleep and not wake up, however that might sound. So it was really a blessing, again, to have my mom and my grandmother there. And then there were, of course, the kids just being wrapped up in their lives daily, that helped out a lot. But really it was just kind of, I didn't have a choice, right? I got to get back to work eventually. You can only take so much time off, although I did take quite a bit of time off to be with the kids and try to regroup. But there's been, I'll always be grateful for my mom and my nanny, for staying with me. There's been a few friends here that have stayed close and connected with me, but for the most part, life just kind of moved on. So, and I've done a lot of work around it, just in the last few years. My wife now, Shannon, my wife of almost 10 years, I was starting to see how I sort of ignored some of the things and kind of pushed some of the stuff down was affecting our relationship. And she brought it to my attention, and so I actually did some trauma therapy, some EMDR therapy, and it was absolutely amazing. how it helped me process and properly file away some of the stuff that happened. And so I would say I've done the most growth since Shannon and I have been together. So yeah, I don't know if that answered that question.
No, it's good. And that's important that you're able to recognize that, and that you have a wife that's willing to kind of go through those old wounds with you to heal.
She's been great. She's actually the most gracious. I had somebody that I always say I did not marry them, but my 2 youngest daughters are from her. And she was not very gracious. And I don't know from that side of it, but that has to be very hard to step into something like that, right? Because it wasn't a divorce, right? We weren't like, I hate you, I never want to see you again. The person was there and you were fine with them and loved them, and they're gone. And so then someone else is coming in and kind of picking up those pieces. And Shannon's been absolutely the best, the most gracious, the most understanding. Because the other person, the girl's mom, was not. I remember her being like literally, we were dating for maybe, I don't know, 5-6 months, and something had come up about it. And you got to think everybody thinks like, okay, something really horrible happens, you should be fine like 6 months, a year. Like, no, especially if you don't process it the right way. That's something that I can look back and be like, I was not okay for many years. Even though I'm going to work and I'm hanging out with friends and I'm, dating or wanting to meet someone else, I was not okay. Because I hadn't done anything truly, truly, truly to process it. And so, she was very much like, when is it going to be about me? Like literally said that to me. And I'm like, we've only been together for months, and it's only, I think at the time, she'd only been gone for a couple of years. And I just was like, wow, that's a lot. So couldn't really talk about that previous life. And it's not like you sit and you reminisce about it all the time, but it's going to come up. I have 2 daughters from that marriage. And Shannon has always been gracious and asked my daughters questions about their mom and okay with talking about it. And so I just have always been very appreciative of that and admired the strength that she was able to, and the grace that she was able to show me and my kids. So
that's huge. Well done, Shannon. Good job. Well, in that healing process, as you said, it's not something that just happens, and there's not a magic number. There's not okay, you can grieve and mourn now, and now you got to be done. It's just not how it works.
Yeah.
And depending on the circumstances, and as you know, depending on all the things, the factors that are involved, it takes time, and we all go through it our own way. And in our culture, I think we stink at it.
We're horrible at it.
Yeah, I don't think we do a good job.
Somebody told me, I think it's like in Italy or something, the family wears black for and I could be wrong, but for like a year. So that everybody knows this family is in mourning. And it's like year or more process, whereas like kind of America and here, it's like, yeah, you get a couple weeks off of whatever, and you got to pay the bills, you got to put food on the table, you got to do this, that, right? It's like there's no real time to process it. So that time is very, very important, and then that it's again done the right way. And I also, again, I said it a little while ago, I can't say enough about EMDR therapy. It's almost like magic. So
that's amazing.
I highly recommend it. I've talked to any of my students when working with Grad Solutions, if they've ever had some trauma stuff. I have to get a feel for where they're at and build that relationship with them. But I don't have a problem sharing the things I've gone through and then saying, hey, this really helped me. This might be something good for you to look into.
Yeah.
So.
No, I think that's important. And that's part of the wisdom you're passing on and the experience you've gained from this. That's that sowing the seeds of good out of something that was terrible.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, you've come so far, and I know this topic isn't one that people take lightly, or this isn't a conversation we're going to sit down and have in most environments,
Yeah.
most situations. But that's where I think we learn a lot about each other. And then when we're going through struggles ourselves, we know we can rely on others to say, "Hey, man, I'm in the middle of it," and you go, "I know you're in the middle of it,
Yeah.
and let me walk through with you as much as I can." Or I go, "I don't know where to go. Like, I don't know what to do next."
Mm-hmm.
What would you say if somebody came to you today and was in that fog that you expressed earlier? They're in the fog. They're just got into something that they don't even know where to go next. You don't go right into EMDR. Where do you go? What's your first step?
For me, I would probably say my faith. As I mentioned before, I was raised Catholic, so I feel I had a pretty good faith, but I was really angry at God for a long time. Didn't go to church for so long, and I was like, I was trying to do good and help somebody, and you like took my life and just pulled the rug right out from under me. So I didn't understand that. I was very angry. And I remember the first time I sat in a church, it had literally been years. And for some reason, I was over by Dobson High School, St. Timothy's Catholic Church. And I walked in and I just sat. And I remember just sitting there in silence and just started just sobbing. And so I would tell somebody to really lean into their faith if they have it, and if they don't have it, to seek it out. And I would gladly try to help them, find a church, find God as best as I could help them. Because in looking back, there's no way I got through any of that without him. There's no way. Like I said, there were moments I couldn't see past the next minute. Mm-hmm. And so I know that it is only through his grace and strength was I able to be sitting here. So that's why probably the first thing I would tell somebody is to just lean into God, find him and lean into him. And surround yourself with your friends and family. Don't be afraid to lean into them. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And then it's okay. It's okay to be angry. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to feel that hurt and that loss. Allow yourself the time to process that. Don't do anything rash or sudden, right? Like, don't sell everything and move across the country. Take your time with all of it, and but don't stay there. And then I would then the next suggestion would be get some counseling. When you're ready, get some counseling and talk through a lot of the stuff, and journal. Write your feelings down, write your thoughts down. All of that stuff helped me out tremendously. So
yeah, those are good words of wisdom. And if I don't love to write, sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, but we have so many options with technology. Like, I do notes on my phone, but I do it spoken. So I just speak into my notes and kind of just get it all out that way.
Yeah.
Sometimes I need to write it out. Sometimes I just say it, get it out. But it's important not to hold it in.
Right.
And I think that's the point you're making.
Yeah, definitely.
Get it out. Get some support around you, because we all go through difficulties. And I think one of the worst things is when we feel like we're alone and then we just stuff it. Mm-hmm. And we just go back and kind of put on the hat we're supposed to wear, or the face we're supposed to wear. And, you go back to work, you kind of get back into life as you're supposed to and as everybody expects, but we don't really work through the stuff that's inside.
Yeah.
And that's where I think it's important, like you're saying, to get some help. Lean into your faith, learn about something that's important to you, but also go through it with help, because we can't do it on our own. No matter how strong we are, no matter what we just can't do it on our own.
That is correct.
It's too hard.
Yeah.
So let's talk about today. What's changed with your daughters? How are the girls now? They're older.
Yeah.
Some time has passed.
Yeah. So it's what's crazy. It's like 20 years. I think it'll be 21 years in May. My family has grown exponentially because, as I mentioned, I'm married again. It'll be 10 years in November with my lovely wife Shannon, and we have a combined 8 kids all together. So it's insane. And every time we tell somebody that, they're like, "What?" And I have to always go, "We didn't have them all together." So, I end up 4 daughters, and she's got 3 daughters and a son. And most of them are older and out of the house, but my 2 oldest daughters are grown, and I always have to ask Shannon for help. One's 31, and one's 27. The 27-year-old gave us our first granddaughter, who's like 9 months old. And then we have, like I said, 8 total kids, ranging from like 33 all the way down to the youngest, Taylor, is 13. So we still have 2 young ones at home. And we have 2 grandsons. One is 9 and one is 10 months old. And then the granddaughter, who's 9 months old. So the family's just absolutely grown. I have more children than I thought I'd ever have, ever. Like, I was like, yeah, 2. Right? And guys don't grow up thinking, most guys don't grow up thinking, when I grow up and I have 2 kids and I was just like, yeah, I'll be married someday and probably 2 kids. And if you told me 10 years ago you're going to have 8 kids and 3 grandkids, I'd have been like, no way. So that's where we're at now. Thanksgiving and Christmas is just big family stuff as much as we can. A lot of the kids are older now, so they have their own lives and own significant others and things like that. But we still make an attempt to try to get together for a family dinner here and there, or the holidays for sure when we can. And I have a completely new. It's a new life. It really is. I look back on that time, and it is just a different life. It was a different time, and I'm in a new life, and things are great. Like I said, Shannon and I have been together. It'll be together 13 years and married 10, coming up in November. And just living life.
Beauty from the ashes, they say.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely for sure.
Well, and you've taken a lot of steps that I want to continue to encourage you, but also to remind you of all the things you've done to be in this place, and the support, having Shannon and having the support system around you. That's immeasurably just amazing and helpful on that journey. And the things that you shared to me that were really impactful was how she embraced your daughters and their mother, even though that can create some pain, and I'm sure there's feelings involved there. There's no question. But like you said, the grace of saying, I want to hear this because I love you and I care about you. And it can't be one of those things that we now have them stuffing and holding things and not being able to express themselves.
Yeah.
So that's huge. And then you guys working through your marital stuff and the things that had been kind of stuck deep down inside that were coming out in other ways that weren't healthy. Mm-hmm. Those are great, great testimonies of what you do when you go through hard times.
Yeah.
You go get help, and then you dig in.
Mm-hmm.
You do the hard work. And even though your journey hasn't been pretty in a lot of ways, you've got so many beautiful things that have come out of the hard space.
Absolutely.
And that's what you referred to in the moment. You had enough conscious awareness back when all this was happening that you needed to go through it.
Mm-hmm.
And you needed to process it and experience it. And then you needed to try to do something good with it and help others. You wrote a book. You've stayed connected with folks. You walked through life with your daughters as a single dad who was thrown some pretty hard cards to deal with. And in an instant, your life changed, as you said. So, man, kudos to you. And, I know you're not sitting here looking for a pat on the back, but I mean, what you've gone through and what you've done with it, those are admirable qualities. And your daughters are very, very fortunate and blessed to have a dad that was willing to go through that and not make it about him. It's a good job doing that.
Thank you. I don't know how good I did, I can again look back, and I was going through whatever I was going through, and I think there was a lot of times where I was present for them, but not as present as I should have been. And I've since, tried to apologize to them and talk to them about that stuff. And I think they understand, but still, there's still some of that guilt, because again, you're just trying to just figure it out and manage everything all at once. And so it's strange to hear you say that, because I think I still sometimes think back and I was like, I could have done way better.
Sure. But that's how you think of yourself in life anyway. You're always trying to improve and do the right thing. Yeah. And so when you have that kind of self-assessment that you're always doing, you're always going to look at how you can improve and do it better. But you were thrown into a situation that there's no way you could have known how to do it. Yeah. Nobody wants to go through that. And I would never want to be the one that has to write the playbook on that and experience it. But you've done a lot of that yourself, and yeah, I think you give yourself that grace as well. Yeah. And your daughters, as they continue to get older, just like you and I have, you figure out more about life and you understand it in a different way when you start putting yourself in your folks' shoes. And if you've allowed them to kind of see what it was like to walk in your shoes and apologize, and the things that you felt like you could do better, at least have that experience and that example. So I think that you've done a good job with that. And we can always look at what we could have did better. But you did your best. Yeah. And you were there. That's the best thing you could have done, was be there and not leave them alone in that situation. Man, congrats to you having a good mom and a good grandma that helped you through it.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of folks out there that don't have that blessing in their life, and that's an amazing blessing to have that. And your mom showed you that love, so you could show that with your daughters and even others going through this process.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that I can remember. I can remember early on asking, everyone asks why. Like, why did this happen? Why did this have to happen? Why would God allow this to happen? And it's not, I don't think, first of all, in my faith journey, God will use these things. So it's not that he allows them to happen to you, but he will use all things, right? Honey, I'm horrible at the verses, but I will use all things. You are good at that stuff.
He will use all things for good.
For good,
for those
right?
that love him and are called according to his
Yep.
purpose.
So, and so I can remember asking, why? And someone told me, well, you're going to be able to help other people experience something similar. And it's been so strange over the years, because I've watched my grandmother lose her husband. My aunt Donna just lost my Uncle Jim, and here I've already experienced that. My cousin, Leslie losing her sister, and her husband Pete losing his wife. My cousin Gina, and I've already experienced that. It's strange to already have been there, and it's different for everybody, but already knowing some of the things that they are most likely feeling or have felt, and to have already experienced that, and to be able to sit there with them in that, and hopefully just by sitting with them is helping them. But it's a strange place to be, because these people that are older than me, well, they're supposed to have more life experience than me. Here I am, their nephew or their grandson or their whatever is consoling them as they're losing someone. So it's kind of a weird place to be as your family members that are older than you are just now experiencing something you experienced years ago. So, but I feel grateful that I'm able to be there for them and just sit with them, and hopefully be a shoulder they can lean on in that time. Too many times people think that they have to say something. I can remember somebody telling me, it was actually an old boss, goes, and it was literally, I think, 6 months. And he's like, well, you'll meet somebody else. And I was like, okay. And thinking back, how I feel sorry for him, because I know he just wanted to help. And I think people feel like I have to be able to say some magical, powerful, whatever thing. And no, just be there and listen and hug that person, tell them you're here for them. And so I'm thankful that I'm able to hopefully be that source for any friends and family that are, I mean, losing people is a part of life. And so, I'm thankful that I'm hopefully able to be that for my friends and family as they experience this stuff. And even my students, I've had students lose loved ones, and it's helped me sit with them in that grief. So it's kind of I don't know how the word coming to mind is, it's a strange superpower to have, to be able to sit with somebody in that and empathize and kind of feel what they're going through and just be like, it's going to be okay. You're going to get through this. So,
yeah, it's bittersweet, because even though you're not wanting to be in that circumstance with them, when you're there, you know that it means something, as it did for you, having that support. Yeah, we do that a lot, I think, especially in our culture. And I think just as human beings, we aren't comfortable in pain and seeing people in pain. So we want to say that thing that's going to help. And in the middle of that, how could you say anything really other than what you said? That, I'm here and I love you. I'm here for you. You just let me know. But then mean it.
Right.
And don't just fall off the planet a few months later.
Yeah.
That was one of the biggest things. I've had the honor of doing a funeral for some loved ones and spoken at plenty of funerals and things that I've experienced myself in loss. And that's the words of wisdom I try to share with them is, this is a moment when you're all together and you're all supporting each other and loving each other, and you're crying together and laughing together, remembering the good and the bad. But the reality is we're all going to go home, and we're all going to go have dinner, and we're all going to go back to work, and we're all going to move on with our lives. But the ones that this impacts the most, it's going to take longer to do all that. And don't forget, because today is a meaningful day. But next month, a couple months later, the holidays are huge, especially depending on who it is and, the relationship and things. Don't forget about them then, because that's when the loneliness really hits. Yeah. Because you wake up next week and they're not there. And it's been a long time that you've been with them. So you go, I just don't even know where to go, what to do, how to do this thing. That's when they need people checking in. Yeah. And then next month when there's an event or, an anniversary or whatever, just be sensitive to that. And that's what I've tried to share with people going through loss, because that's what was the biggest thing for me is, man, they were all there and now they're not. And now I feel like I shouldn't bother them, because they're like you said, aren't you over that? Oh, you should go meet someone else. It's like, come on now. That's not how it works. It's a process. And in other countries, I think other cultures, maybe do it a little better than we do, because they know that there's a reason why we call it loss. And you don't celebrate loss, you mourn loss. And there's a significance. If people aren't mourning your loss when you're gone in your life, how much value did you really have? you know? It's kind of like that search for significance as we get older.
Yeah.
Like we want to make sure that, you know, if people aren't crying at my funeral, if they're not having a funeral and they're not crying, geez, I feel bad about what I did. Like, what did I really do, you know? So I'm grateful that you've been willing to sit with people going through that time, and that you've had people in your life that they lived lives worthy of mourning. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a testimony of the life they lived, but also how we go through it and help each other through it. There's also a Bible verse that talks about comforting others with the comfort you've received. So as you continue to do that, hopefully they take some of those lessons and those things that you pass on and those kind acts and that grace you give, and then they extend it, hopefully. So as we kind of finish the conversation today, this is not a one and done. This is kind of life, you know, going forward. We just talk and share lives and kind of work through stuff, the good and the bad. Are there anything we didn't touch on that you feel like you'd like to pass on, words of wisdom, words of encouragement, anything inspiring that you would just hope people would take away from this time?
I think, again, just allow yourself with any kind of loss, grief, any kind of trauma, anything big and life-changing, just take your time to process through it. And give yourself grace. Don't be so hard on yourself. Allow yourself time to heal. And it's just a season. Now, it's so hard in the midst of that to see it. And that's something that I've learned from Shannon. These things are just seasons. Some of them are worse and bigger than others and more devastating than others. But in a year or two or however long from now, you'll look back and you'll be like, wow. It's amazing where I'm at now. Back then, I couldn't see past this minute, but here I am a year, 2 years, however many years later. And so just to hold on to that, you know, this too shall pass. And so just remain hopeful again. And for me, the biggest thing is just my faith with God and leaning into Him, and just keeping my eyes focused on Him. And you will get through it. It's not something you get over. It's something you have to go through, and you will get through it. So
that's a great point. You don't get over it, you go through it.
Yeah.
And then you look back and you say, I made it through it.
Yep.
Through the hard times.
Yeah. And I had a coach say many years ago, you can have something happen to you, and you can either spiral down outright and never recover for it, or you can take that, process it, and then try to kind of springboard better, grow from it, learn from it, and be better than where you were at that point. And that's a choice, right? So you have to make that choice. And I think looking back, I've never been like, oh, I wonder what life, like, if I never, if that never happened, if I didn't stop it, I don't dwell on that stuff, because I would never have met my wife. I would not have the family I have now. There's 2 kids I wouldn't have now. There's grandbabies I wouldn't have now, and I can't imagine my life without any of them. And so I wouldn't change it. I can say that now. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't change it, because I'm a different person. I'd like to believe I'm a better person for having gone through that. I've grown a lot. I've grown a lot more in my faith. I'm more conscious now of trying to be a better husband, trying to be a better dad, a better granddad, all of these things. And I would not have learned all of those things had I not gone through it.
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah.
And you went through it. You got through it. And I appreciate you being candid and willing to share. I know that it's not a fun topic, and I know these things have been a challenge that you've worked through for many years, almost 21 years, you said. That's a long time to have to experience all that and go through it, but you've learned a lot. You've grown so much. I know your family and your friends are proud of you. They love you. We're all grateful for your friendship, and I know your students benefit from your wisdom and experience and just the kindness that you've shared with them when they're going through their own season and their challenges. I love the fact that you reminded us that this too shall pass. It is a season, and some seasons are long and arduous. Others are far more enjoyable. And we long for the short, enjoyable ones or the long, enjoyable ones, but we know that they can coexist. We can go through the hard, and we can deal with the hard at the same time and still have joy and go through it. So grateful for the time you shared with me and the story, and just allow me to learn from you, continue to learn from you.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, anytime. Appreciate you. That's it for today, my friends.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it, you guys.
Thank you for tuning in to The Stories That Bind Us, the show that honors the weight of being human and reminds us that we're not alone in carrying it. Next week will be the last episode of the season. Please be sure to check it out. Cinematography was done by Michael Brown. Editing and narration was done by Jim Martin. The Stories That Bind Us was created and hosted by Jim Lee. We'll see you again next week, and until then, take care of yourself.